Hello and good evening to you wherever you are in the world. Good evening from Abuja, Nigeria. How are you? I see a few people have already joined us. We are so honored that you could be here at our CAMCon 2022. CAMCon stands for Cybersecurity and Me Conference. Hey, we're so glad if you can hear my voice. I would like you to put in something in the chat. Maybe say hi, say hello, and say where you are clicking in from so that we see that you're here with us, just to be sure that the sound is good. Hi. Hi, George. I see you. Who else is here with us in the chat? Hi, Nancy. Hi, love. So glad that you could join us. Yes, we are happy that you are here. Yes. And guess what? All our speakers are here complete. Wow. Joining from Edo State, from Lagos to Bechuku. I see you, Sherry, from Lagos, from Port Harcourt. Oh, fantastic. Thank you all for trusting us enough to click in. Cindy is also from Port Harcourt. Gabriel Chioma, hi, welcome. Fantastic. We're so glad that you could be here. You honored us and trusted us to come in. I think it's in line with taking responsibility for more. So yes, my name is Joyce Daniels. I call myself a social engineering practitioner. Change the mind, change the society. My voice is my tool. For over 15 years, I've used my voice to speak at events, train speakers, presenters. I've been an event host MC. I've trained over 17,000 individuals. I've trained over 1,000 MCs across Africa and beyond, and I'm very proud of what I do. I am also very proud that today I will learn more about cybersecurity, because it's in preparing for CAMCon 22 that the reality did really hit me from listening to the speaker who is about to come up, who is our host, from listening to him and say, half our lives are spent in the cyberspace. So we need to be more aware of how to protect ourselves in cyberspace. So today, that's what we're doing, to be more aware. So please, in the chat, if you can, for those of us who are joining us on YouTube, please write in the chat, be more aware, or just write CAMCon. Then I know that you are ready, and I would welcome our first speaker, who is our host, to join us. Anieka, I see you from Port Harcourt, the mechanic. I know Silas from Warri. I know from Eko, Ebuka from Lagos, Gabriel from Delta. I see you all, and I say thank you. 20s and killing it. Oh, yes. Be more aware. Yes. CAMCon, I see your responses. Thank you all so much. Our first speaker, who is also our host for today, is Mr. George Ikoli-Spiff, who is an experienced professional credited with information technology career that spans well over a decade. He is focused on cybersecurity and cloud solutions as an individual and as a company. He loves all things human capital and capacity development. He's an enthusiast, a social engineering practitioner himself, and he is interested in empowering youth-led startups and innovative business ideas. With all the CAMCon joy in your hearts, please welcome with me Mr. George Ikoli-Spiff. Hello, George.
Hi, Joyce.
Thank you for bringing us to CAMCon.
Thanks for the introduction.
You're welcome.
So,
I'll
how are
leave
you
the
today?
stage to you right now.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Cybersecurity and Me Conference 2022. I'm delighted to have you here with our distinguished speakers and our beautiful moderator, Joyce Daniels. Let me tell you how we came about the Cybersecurity and Me Conference, aka CAMCon. I would say I stumbled on cybersecurity by chance, and yes, I'm a believer in time and chance. Serving in the IT industry for almost 30 years, I can't say I chose cybersecurity, but would say it chose me. I've served, still serving, and still continue to serve in the security architecture in my church. And this exposed me to a high level of responsibility towards the safety of life and property in my care. Now, I realized that safety and security is a communal effort. No one person alone can keep everyone safe and secure. People need to know how to recognize threats, how to respond to threats, and protect themselves and help others be more safe and secure. So, creating awareness by helping individuals protect themselves online as threats to technology and confidential data become more commonplace intrigued me. Now, with my background in IT and my commitment to security and safety, I have taken on the responsibility of seeing individuals and businesses become safer and more secure in the cyberspace. You ask why? Practically half our lives are lived in the cyberspace. So today's event is about taking responsibility, taking ownership, becoming more aware of protecting our data and helping others do same. All the speakers today are individuals that I've known over the years who daily have responsibility for securing the data within their space, data which is of course the life of any business right now. Our speakers have 100 years of combined experience within the cybersecurity space, and today we will share out of this wealth of knowledge and experience. Please do well to listen, participate, and also ask questions. I welcome you all to taking responsibility as you see yourself in cyber. Welcome once again to the Cybersecurity and Me Conference 2022, aka CAMCon 2022. Thank you. See you at the end of the conference. Over to you, Joyce.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much for letting us come into your space of cybersecurity and more. We are grateful. Everyone in the chats, if you can, please appreciate Mr. George Ikoli-Spiff, founder Steelcon Technologies, for putting this together and inviting us all to become more aware. Thank you so much. Thank you. It is my honor and privilege to welcome our next speaker because we'll just be going straight into the conversation of the day. The first off is our keynote speaker for today, who is going to be dissecting the conversation around see yourself in cyber. I think for me, the underlying conversation, the underlying theme, or no, not theme, the underlying truth is half our lives are lived online. Half our lives are lived online. So we need to be able to see ourselves in cyber. So many of us see ourselves as nation builders. We see ourselves in the future we hope for, but let's begin to see ourselves in cyber. Our keynote speaker is the Group Chief Information Security Officer at EcoBank in Ghana. He's which is a Pan-African banking conglomerate with banking operations, I dare say, all over the world. He has several years of experience in providing consulting services to telecoms service providers and the banking sector, and he will be sharing out of his strength and his wealth with us today. If you are ready, in the chats, please write, I am ready. If you're ready in the chats, let me see, I am ready. I am ready. And when I see like 3 or 4 I am readies, we will bring on our keynote speaker, Mr. Mark Akinyode. Are we ready? Are we ready? I'm waiting for the responses. Yes, I see them. I've seen, oh, somebody said I was born ready. Thank you so much. Everyone, please welcome with me Mr. Mark Akinyode. Hello, Mr. Mark.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good
Um,
afternoon.
I hope you can see me because I can't really see myself.
I can't see you right now.
Right, the camera is on, but it seems not to be coming on.
Okay, well, these things happen in tech. So
Okay,
perhaps what we can do is let you log off for a moment and log
all right,
back
okay.
in. We will give that time. It happens. It's a conference. If we were together live, we could see that happen. Sometimes you put on the microphone, it doesn't work. Meanwhile, you just tested the microphone 2 minutes before, right? We all know these things. So, yes, a little bit of housekeeping. If at any time any of our speakers gets frozen while speaking, just give it a few moments. I'm sure they would get back. Some might have to change networks. I have two internet service providers standing by just in case, or like some people will say, should in case. So whilst we're waiting for our keynote speaker to come back in, please, if you haven't told us where you're clicking in from in the chats, please do so. We'd like to see that we have a spread of people who are willing, ready, and able to take on the challenge and the challenge of seeing ourselves in cyber. I'll be looking out in the chats, waiting for us to. Yes, I'm seeing I'm ready. Where are you clicking in from? From the UK, Akima Mao Kim, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Ozifeme is from Lagos. Okay, we're seeing more. From Ibadan, Favor Akpan. Ella, hi Ella. Ella is from Lagos. Shofu is from Abuja. Shofu, I'm in your city. And someone here is from Benin Republic. Where did I see that? Melody. Hi, Melody. We are glad from Delta, Judith, from Benin, Augustine Wodo. And Mr. Mark is back. So allow me bring him back up to the stream. Mr. Mark, is there something covering the screen itself, the camera itself? Sometimes some of these laptops have that slide over like the way
No,
my
so
finger is.
there's nothing covering it.
There's none.
I'm
Oh,
beginning to
okay.
work out. Maybe it's the internet connection.
Yes, it could be.
Um,
Ooh, we're going to have to listen to you like this. And guess what? We would not mind
right.
because the show will go on and we know that you have to get back to other things that you're doing. I know you also have a presentation and we'll be ready to share that when you are.
Why can't I connect?
When we did the dry run earlier, we saw him very clearly. So, yeah, these things happen. Everyone is ready to listen, learn, take notes, and we're good to go. Perhaps I'll just leave this on the screen whilst you speak. Yes, he's trying to turn the camera on. It was on earlier. We don't know why it's not showing now. So, whilst we're waiting for our keynote speaker to take over, I would ask the question: when you first heard or you saw written on your social media pages, see yourself in cyber, what came to mind? You can write something. What did you think of? see yourself in cyber? I'm waiting for the comments and I'll read them out as they come on. And if we see some particularly interesting comments, we would even share them on screen. Okay, first comment here says, okay, I thought of online security system. Okay. Online security system technology. Saratu was thinking about technology. So I know that this conversation will come up much later in the program, but let me take your mind somewhere else as regards cybersecurity. Nancy says, I was intrigued. It piqued my interest because it's not something we would ordinarily think or talk about in our day-to-day life. Someone else said it sounded like an encouragement to venture into cybersecurity as a career. So you see different things coming to our minds based on who was receiving. Someone brought my attention to an incident. I think it was just on Monday. She said that a lady somewhere went for a job interview. She had applied for a job somewhere, went for a job interview, and they said to her that based on a, what do I call it? An improper post that they found on her social media page from 2 years earlier. From 2 years before, they found an improper social media post. And so for that reason, they weren't going to take her on. And I was like, how does this link to cybersecurity? Securing your future as well, securing your destiny. So there is also a lifestyle to securing your cyberspace. Justice thought about your hacked Instagram account. Somebody else said you knew it had to do with security. So as much as we'll be talking about tech, we'll also be talking about the lifestyle of just securing yourself, whether it's online or offline, guarding your words, guarding your actions, guarding your thoughts, and of course, guarding your tech. So would in the next 2 minutes, if our keynote speaker is not back up, we would let him refresh his system because we want to get the full package out of it. If he's not back in 2 minutes, we will go straight into the panel. We have all our panel discussants here, and I believe all their cameras are already on and working. We would have the panel members, yes, they will come on and we will jump into that. Okay. Please suggest he uses his phone so he can send the slides to you and I can help share his slides. Going to learn how to protect my information from hackers. Somebody said, let's do it. Yes, let's do it together. I believe I have the permission of our convener, Mr. George Ikoli-Spiff. So let's just jump right into welcoming our panelists. I will bring them up and then I would, or you know what, I would introduce them one after the other and then bring them up together. In no particular order, we have with us Mr. Adesegun Adeyemo, who is a cybersecurity architect, all the way in faraway Australia. He's a result-oriented information and cybersecurity manager with over 15 years of experience as a support engineer, control and network engineer, control and IT system security analyst, cybersecurity specialist, cybersecurity risk manager, and of course, he will be sharing so much with us. He is currently a cyber SME on the two biggest projects on Woodside, where he's providing advisory services to the project. Woodside is in Australia. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from one of our universities in Nigeria, and his master's is from a school in Sweden, the University of Dalarna. We are honored to have you, Adesegun, with us today. Just give me a moment. How are you doing, Mr. Adeyemo? Good to see you.
Good evening. I'm sorry, good afternoon. It's already evening here.
No,
Good
no
afternoon.
worries. We are global citizens. Some people here are
It's
saying good morning. Glad to
it's
have
a
you with
pleasure.
us. All
Yeah, it's my
right.
pleasure.
In this conversation also is going to be Mr. Olushola Adediran, who is the Chief Information Security Officer, Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIBS PLC, Nigeria. He is a seasoned IT GRC professional with over 22 years of financial service experience, which he acquired across multi functional areas, including IT, systems audits, IT management and governance, and more. He's a board member of the ISACA, ISACA, Lagos chapter, and currently immediate past president, ISACA Lagos. We're so delighted to have Mr. Shola Dediron join us. Good to see you.
Good evening, good afternoon, say good day, everyone, irrespective of
Good
where you
day.
are. Bonjour for people in the Benin Republic. Comment ça va?
Exactly. Ça va bien, merci. At least I know that one. And we'll now
Yeah,
say, et vous?
Evu, and you?
Yes, and you. Finally, to join this session, we have with us Mr. Erabai Udochai. He is the account executive, FSI Microsoft Nigeria and Ghana. A seasoned professional, having spent more than a decade each in the financial services and tech industry. He's successfully driven transformation projects, both from an internal and external perspective. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, has an MBA from Holt Business School, and is married with children. Mr. Abai, good to see you. Thank you for joining
Hello.
us.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here. Hello, everybody.
Fantastic. Hello, everybody. He said, unfortunately, they can't you can't hear their voices, but I'm sure some people are saying hello right back at you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So I would the way the panel will work is we would give you all your opening questions, which will give you 5 minutes to present each, and after that we'll bring everybody back for um, some conversations, and we'll answer some of the questions in the chats. So first off would be the question for Mr. Shola. And my question is, are cyber crimes more dangerous to corporations than they are to individuals in society? Should we be more concerned about cybersecurity for individuals or for corporations at large? We would let you take it away for the next 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks everyone for joining this session. Basically, looking at the question, whether it's more concerned towards the individual or towards the corporate environment, it's still the same thing. Individual are inside the corporate environment, so the focus should be the concerns to individual, because individual makes up the corporate environment. So we should focus more on the individual. If you can build the security in terms of awareness for individual, you can also secure the corporate organization. If you also do responsibility in terms of what do we talk about in terms of cybersecurity, basically the objective is to protect the asset, information asset. There are three special areas in that information asset that we want to guide against: the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability. So if you make individuals aware of this in terms of how to protect themselves from social engineering, you can also secure the corporate environment. So it's stated towards individual, because if you also look at the activities surrounding technology, we are in digital platform now. You look at processes, technology, and people. And the weakest link is people. You can have the best technology in place, you can have the best solution, but people need to manage that solution. People need to have the skill and knowledge to manage that solution. So if you don't equip your people in terms of knowledge and skill, then they cannot make use of that technology very well. So it's still boiled down to how do we keep our people in terms of awareness, in terms of security they need to put in place, stuff how to also secure their confidential information, credentials, so that they are not being used as a conduit to also attack the corporate organization. So focus should be towards equipping end users to ensure that they also have the understanding in terms of cybersecurity. And largely, it's all about understanding how phishing works, because that's also the techniques they use nowadays. If you cannot get you physically, they try to get you logically, either through SMS, which is phishing, or through email, which is phishing. So if you are also not being extra careful, to go through the maze, being conscious of the actions to take. They can also unknowingly divulge your information and make use of that to also attack. You also look at in terms of the corporate organizations, it's more of internal attacks. That is also a large impact on organization. So it's not that you don't have the technology to protect yourself to outside threats, but as far as your internal staff are not aware, they can also be used in terms of gaining access into the environment and also creating damage on the enterprise. So we should focus more on the issues around the end users and also giving them the knowledge and wisdom around what they need to do when they are also attacked and how to report, how to manage beyond also taking it as the organization have not protected me in terms of defending my information within the organization. We also have the data privacy law in place in Nigeria now. It's also looking at in terms of how do we share information of end user. We do call them data subjects. So these are also areas we have also improved as a country to ensure that we also protect the end user from being attacked by the cyber world. So this will be a short briefing on that for our masses. Thanks, everyone. So Joyce, if there are questions, we can answer that. And also to buttress further in terms of how do we also manage security for enterprise. Now we know that assets are being moved into cloud. That's another area we need to focus on. So if you look at it, first of all is to also equip people in terms of training, awareness, and education. And beyond that, you look at the identity management. You need to have your unique identifier. So if you also have bank accounts, now you have your account number with your unique identifier. You have your also, if you have a mobile platform, mobile apps, you also have your login details, which are also your unique identifiers. You also have the PIN, which are also susceptible to attack. People can do brute force attack on your password. But beyond that, you have what we call the multi-factor authenticators. You have 2FAs, you have MFAs, which is also to put layer in terms of what you have in terms of password to also protect you further. Beyond that, also from the corporate end, we have what we call the application security. At the application layer, you need to secure the applications you deploy, and you have the endpoints for the laptops in terms of virus. You need to have your antivirus deployed also. So corporates are doing their own end, and also the individual needs to do that in terms of securing the confidentials or securing the credentials they have with them, so that you don't leak those credentials to attackers. And beyond the application security, you move to the network security. The interconnectivity between your networks and platforms, you need to also secure it with solutions. And beyond that, you also have the database security to manage all the information that has been saved in terms of customers' information. And now, beyond having infrastructure on premise, you also have the cloud solutions. These are also to ensure you have availability should there be a problem in your infrastructure. And clouds have its own security also to be sure that information being put to clouds are not being accessed by unauthorized users. And we also look beyond that also in terms of should there be attack or when there is attack, because you might not even know when it will happen. It might have even happened already in your environment, you might not be aware. So when there's attack, could you recover? And how soon can you recover? That's why I talk about the cyber resilience. So if you look at the layer of defense in depth, you have your cyber security, and at top of it, you have your cyber resilience in terms of how soon can you respond and recover should there be any attack, and you have the attackers outside. So it's a layer, and you need to continue to engage end users, the consumers, in terms of awareness, in terms of what can you do to protect yourself from these attacks. They are always outside there just to lure you, get your information, and then use it thereafter to defraud. So Joyce, over to you if there are questions to answer.
Yes, thank you. The questions have begun to come in already. So here's what I'll say to those who are already asking the questions. Just jailbreak small, hold it just a little bit. Someone is already saying, what is the power of blockchain and cloud for cybersecurity to our nation and continent? But we'll hold it because after we've heard from all our speakers, who knows, the question might be answered in the course of one of our presentations. Please, everyone in the chat, say thank you to Mr. Olushola Adediran for his first conversation to say everyone needs to be aware, and he had given a few pointers. He'll be back up in a bit with other members of the panel to take us to the next level about answering the questions. Thank you, Mr. Olushola Adediran.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Joyce.
I'm glad to let us know that our keynote speaker is back and we can see him this time. We had read his bio earlier, Mr. Mark Akinyode. And thank you for letting us bring you from an hour behind, as it were, due to go get a second device and all of that. Thank you for not giving up.
Good afternoon. My apologies for the mix-up that happened a few minutes ago. Apparently, something must have gone on my laptop, so I had to join from my phone. I hope you can hear me.
We hear you clearly. Yes, sir.
Right, okay. I can't hear you really. Well, can you hear me? Hello? 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 Okay.
We hear you clearly. We don't hear you anymore. I think it's been muted. Your other device sound is on. That's why there's an echo. So if you'd put that one off. Yes.
Okay, can you still hear me?
We see you and we hear you. Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to hear you anymore, so I'll just take the presentation. We'll talk through this. Yes, cyber. Quite interesting topic that in the last few years has been, I will say, on everybody's lips. Few years back, let's say about 25, 26 years ago, no one would have thought that there was something of this nature in terms of the internet, in terms of cybersecurity. Looking back at when people like us were in university in the 80s, there wasn't anything like this. And it's quite an interesting phenomenon when you look at what is happening. What is cyber? I mean, that's the first thing I need to touch. We will probably look at it from the perspective of some electronic communication networks, very simple, straightforward communication networks, all interrelated, interconnected, which is the internet. The internet apparently gave us a lot of stuff we never realized that would ever happen. Interconnected world, you can sit in America, sit in the part of the world and connect to anybody, anywhere. You can collaborate, you can have entertainment, you can have banking, you can have e-commerce, you can download information. Looking back at when we're doing research in university, you have to go into the library. These days, you don't have to go into any library. You have your own online library. And same thing, you have Internet of Things. You can connect anything you want to connect onto the internet. Brilliant, interesting. The environment has brought a lot of transformation in various areas. I'll quickly look at banking and e-commerce environment, and then I'll come to cyber, see yourself in cyber. Because if you need to understand, everybody is in cyber already without realizing it. Everybody is playing a role in the cyberspace. Digital evolution, that environment creates what we call the digital evolution. Banks now, if you're not online, you can't compete. The same customers are the same, right? The customer's experience has changed. Nobody goes to the bank anymore at 5 o'clock in the evening. Remember at the time I was in the university, you have to go, if you want to get money from home, you have to get home before 4 p.m. in the evening. If you come after 4 o'clock, you have to come back the next day. It is all changed now. The customer experience has changed. The customer wants to bank at any time of the day, 12 midnight, 4 midnight, 3 a.m. Now, in those days, right, if you don't steal from a bank before 4 o'clock, the chances of you being able to steal from the bank is not going to happen. But these days, because of the customer experience, the customer wants to do his transaction at any time of the day. The risk is there 24/7. We've seen a lot of transformation in terms of re-engineering of banking processes, increase in transaction volumes and value. When I say the value of transaction, now you're talking of millions of dollars a day because you can transfer at any time of the day. Same thing with transaction volume has significantly gone up. Payment solutions has changed, USSD, mobile apps, online banking, various avenues that now present risk to financials in the financial sector. Customers who want to transact at any time of the day. So you have seen a difference. You have seen a move from the traditional banking environment into an environment now because of this cyberspace that's giving us all these opportunities. But with these opportunities also comes the risk. We have also seen the e-commerce environment complete change. People now, in those days when I was growing up, nobody would buy anything online. You want to see your goods before you release the money. But these days, people are buying stuff online. In Africa, between 2017 and 2020, we've seen significant increase in the volume of transactions on e-commerce, about $22 million last year. Yeah, 22, I think 25 or $26 million last year. In Africa, Jumia Nigeria had about 7.6, 22 billion. Jumia Nigeria had about 7 point something million last year in dollars. I'm not talking of naira, and that tells you a lot that there has been an increase in terms of the volume of financial transactions going on in that environment. Now, what you should realize now is that everybody is there. You, myself, are already in that space. We're already doing transactions. Everybody is now in the cyberspace, doing one thing or the other. Either you are transferring money to your children or you're buying stuff online. You're already a player in that cyberspace. But the risk is significant, it's huge. And people need to start understanding that the risk that comes with that space is more than a lot of people can imagine. Last year alone, 2021, we saw a lot of cyber attacks going on. I'm sure everybody heard about the oil company. I don't want to mention any name. Oil company in America that was hacked, and they had to pay $4.1 million. We heard about what happened in 2016. A bank in Asia that the fraudsters tried to take $1 billion under 4 hours. They got away with $81 million. They could have gotten away with $1 billion, but because of a mistake in one of the transactions. So you see a lot of risk in that space. Now, who are playing in this space? Myself and yourself and some other actors. So we're human. We're already there doing one thing or the other. Now, the kind of threat we are seeing in this environment, the reality is that we're seeing the local threat. My friend just mentioned something. We have the locals, and then we have the corporate threats. When I say corporate, I'm talking about organized crimes, people whose day-to-day job as you're transacting, their own job is to start collecting. I want to use the word collecting. They're there. So they're also in the cyberspace. They are stakeholders like every one of us, although they're negative stakeholders, but they are still players in that environment. Now, as we are playing in that environment, doing our own transaction, they also are watching everything you are doing. So the risk in that environment is quite significant. Organizations have spent a lot of money deploying solutions. Like my friend said a couple of minutes ago, we have layered approach, cloud, on-premise, interconnection, integration. Now, that's one of the risks I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that the financial platform has changed because now you can transfer money from your bank to a mobile money in some countries or back. What does that do? You have opened a gap in your security. So those integration that is going on, those banking transactions, mobile transaction going on, the fraudsters are also there taking their own beats. Now, no matter the amount of tools you deploy, what we've seen is that you've seen banks deploy endpoint protection to protect their machine, mobile security to protect their mobile phones, laptops, advanced threat protection, identity management. These guys are how to steal your identity. And that's one of the things people need to start looking at in the cyberspace, that the first thing the guy wants to do is steal your identity. Once he steals your identity, then he can do transaction in your name. We have end user education ongoing, organizations that are training their users, doing awareness, sending messages to their customer. Do not give out your OTP. That's part of the awareness the banks organizations are doing. Multi-factor authentication, layered authentication, no more password and username, that we all know you need to have a second factor in order to defeat the cyber criminal. Although we're seeing them beat multi-factor authentication using social engineering these days. We've seen organizations invest in data leak protection, and so that they don't want the organization data to be stolen, database activity monitoring, risk management, business continuity management. All these are ongoing. But if you really look at the statistics, you will see that according to Deloitte, IBM, Cisco, 91% of Any attack start with phishing mail. Phishing mail, send a mail to you, and you click on that mail. They ask you to put in your username and password. You put it in. They have your identity. Now, we need to start understanding that as players in this space, individual, each one of us, seeing ourselves in cyberspace, identity is number one that we need to start protecting. Now, if those statistics says that 91% of attacks start from phishing, basically phishing means that somebody has sent a mail to you, which is malicious. You've clicked on it, and the person is either on your phone or your machine. Now, social media is also another factor. A lot of people are on social media, like LinkedIn. It even makes it a lot easier for the cyber criminals. You put your name on LinkedIn as Makakinyode, CISO for EcoBank Group. Let me correct that. It's EcoBank Group, not EcoBank Ghana. So CISO for EcoBank Group, the cyber criminal might not be interested in me. But if you look at somebody that said, I am the CFO of Mr. ABC Bank, the guy is interested because you know that he can do business email compromise with you. So from just social media, those guys can actually harvest your details and then they start from there. Or you say, I'm the FlexCube administrator, I'm the Postilion, which is your CAT system. You become point of interest to those guys. So you know, the professionals. Now, when all of us start seeing that we have a role to play in the organization, no matter the amount of tools you deploy, if they send a direct mail to you, which we call spear phishing to you, all they have to do is pick your details on LinkedIn and then find out the email format of your organization. M.so@so bank. And you are the guy in charge of the banking application. And they've sent a direct mail to you. You click on it, they're sitting on your machine instantly. So the reality is that if we all start seeing ourselves as key players in the cyberspace, then we're taking the powers and the time away from these guys slowly. What do I mean by that? If you see yourself as the first line of defense, in anything you do, you're the first line of defense, whether in your home, whether in your organization. If you don't click on the phishing mail, they can't get in. If you don't fall for social engineering, they can't get your mobile apps details. We see what's going on, even with the multi-factor authentication, the cyber criminals still call customers and tell them we're doing maintenance and we've just generated the code. And because we don't see ourselves as part of this, as being part of the security, we tend to just say, oh, give it to the bank. But if you see yourself as part of it, the first thing you need to do, you become conscious of the fact that this could be a cyber criminal. We need to start practicing what I call security hygiene. Everybody calls it that. The first thing you need to understand, each one of us need to see that we're the first line of defense in beating these cyber criminals. The cyber criminals already know you have your firewalls, you have your endpoint security. So the first thing they do is they phone you or they send you an email. And once they do that, then you become the weakest link into your organization or into your own bank account. It's so baffling today that individuals still get a phone call from the bank and then give out your OTP or your card details. And a minute before that, the banks has probably sent you an SMS message say, please do not give your OTP code out. Now, we need to start building people to be conscious of the fact that they're the first line of defense. We need to start saying, look, you are a cybersecurity person because you are the first line of defense and the last line of defense for yourself and for any organization. We need to start protecting our data. Our data is key. If anybody steals it, your data is a problem. Maybe in this part of the world, people don't really understand what it means to steal your data. In Europe, if somebody steals your data, then you have a serious problem because the person can apply for credit cards on your name, can apply for loans on your name, on your details once they have it. Then you have a problem to prove that you're not the one. We need to start understanding why we need to use password, strong password. No matter how difficult it is, if you start seeing yourself in cyber, you need to start practicing proper hygiene. Strong password. Forget about using a 123. It can be difficult to remember. It might be you call it inconvenience, but the reality is that it saves you a lot of stress. Number one, if cyber criminals happen to get your OTP and get into your bank account, it takes you days for the bank to even pay back. I don't know whether some banks don't pick back, but it takes you days, maybe 45 days investigation before you get your money back. That is inconveniencing. You need to ensure, as part of being a cyber, that you update your software regularly. You need to be able to recognize social engineering. Social engineering, these guys call you and pretend to be from your bank or ask for your password, ask for your OTP. You need to be able to be savvy in understanding this. Whether phishing, you should be able to detect phishing mail, you should be able to know when somebody is phishing you. You should be able to spot. When you go to a website, you'll be able to spot whether it's a new website. You should avoid going to sites which you're not supposed to go to. You'll be very cautious on social media. Like I said earlier on, it's where these guys are able to harvest a lot of information and a lot of credentials about you. They can monitor you and watch you for a long time. Let me give you an example. We all read the story of Hush Puppy. You could see how long it took those guys. They were not even interested in it, but everything he was posting on social media became of interest to the guys in America. And you see the distance, and you have to be very cautious again when using public Wi-Fi. So keep your details private. Your personal data are very important to you. Your password are key to you. Understanding whether this is social engineering is very important. Understanding that you are the first line of defense, that you are part of cybersecurity, and ensuring that you practice all these hygiene, cyber hygiene, will save you yourself, myself, and our organization, our businesses, a lot of stress. So see yourself in cybersecurity. Security starts from myself and from yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Akinyode. Thank you. We are chief security officers of our lives. We are so grateful for your time. Everyone in the chats, please say thank you to our keynote speaker. It is not the responsibility of your bank to take care of you. Yes, they have their responsibility for their data. Who is responsible for you? It is you. In the chats, the comments are beginning to come in to say thank you, Mr. Akinyode. We say thank you so much, Chief Information Security Officer at EcoBank Group. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Did you learn something? And if the answer is yes, what did you learn? You can just give us a very short response about what exactly you took away and put it in the chat. It's good for our speaker to see that you were listening, you took it away, and something that will guide our actions going forward. And he used one phrase constantly. He said, you should know, you should know, you should know. And I was thinking, how should we know? We should educate ourselves. So you might need to attend a course. You might need to attend a training. So when you see people talking about cybersecurity, don't run away and say it's for them. It's for us all, every one of us. Someone say it is for me. Finally, I would say thank you again to our keynote speaker at CAMCon 2022, Mr. Mark Akinyode. Ms. Adeshegun Adeyemo, one of our speakers and panelists, was going to start his presentation, and I would bring him up now to continue the conversation about cybersecurity. The question we had for him is cyber resilience. What is that? What is cyber resilience? How do we combat the 21st century disaster of cybercrime now that we know we are all individually our own chief security officers? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mark Akinyode, my predecessor on this program, and also to Olushola Adedina. Thanks for being my forerunners. I have a presentation to share. Let me just bring this up.
Yes, please. Just go ahead with it and I'll share here.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, see it.
So just a quick one. the initial speakers have spoken around banking. I started my career in banking also, and I moved away from banking to critical infrastructure. So they have spoken from individual companies and individuals, how cyber attack affects individuals and affects corporation. However, I am going to be taking this from how cyber attacks affect a whole lot of lives at the same time. So I'll be looking at, when you're talking about a critical infrastructure, what could go wrong if somebody hacks into our power station? What could go wrong if somebody hacks into our transmission station? What could go wrong if somebody hacks into our pipeline, distributing fuel all over the nation? What could happen if somebody hacks into our major hospitals? That means that's a bit of a force majeure. It's a bit of a disaster. And for us to be able to mitigate that, or to be able to prevent such from arising, we need to develop a good practice, a good hygiene, like Mr. Akiyode said. And the hygiene is what is called cyber resilience. How do you ensure that the people, process, and technology that you are putting in place is able to prevent attackers from coming in? If you are not able to prevent attackers from coming in and they are in your system, you should be able to identify them as quickly as possible through monitoring. And if you are not able to catch them through monitoring and they have succeeded in intruding into your system, you should be able to respond to that attack immediately, having your teams in place. And if your systems are down, how quickly are you able to recover and bring yourself back up? John Chambers, the CEO of Cisco, said a statement. There are two categories of companies: those that have been attacked, those that know that they are attacked, and those that have been attacked and they don't know. So it's just a matter of time. I always tell people, I've been in an organization of 30,000 employees, and we had a cyber breach last year. We had these guys come in. They've been in the environment for long, and they shipped over 1 terabyte of data we didn't know until those in the central function didn't know until we had like more than 1 terabyte gone. So how does cyber world, cyber crime, or the cyber gang, as I want to call them, how do they operate? Nowadays, they have gone from individuality now, they have gone to real organization. So we now have organized crime. The same way we have organized crime in violent crimes, physical crimes, we are having organized crime in the cyber world. We have had people collaborating from Russia to Ukraine, even to Nigeria. You have the dark web, where people sell credit cards, where people sell. Now we have something that is called ransomware as a service. People build a virus and they sell it on dark web. So that's the extent to which cybercrime has gone today. There are cyber groups in different companies. They've pumped. So whatever they get as ransom is pumped back into, is an investment sort of. Is pumped back into the cyber gang world, and by that, it's just like we paying kidnappers. You are just empowering them. So whenever you are ransomware, you pay them. You are just helping their business to grow, and we have seen this grow in droves in recent times. You can see the statistics that I've posted here from IBM, from McAfee. These guys are growing day by day. I've been in a lot of functions where Nigeria has been named. People have called out Nigeria as a country that are involved in business email compromise. We have people that are always sending mails about Nigerian prince that has multi-million-dollar investment and is calling people to come and come and invest in it, trying to get their details and make sure scam them. So let me give you a typical example of how the cybercrime world works now. There's a ringleader. I can put myself in that state. Okay, I want to start a business now of ransomware. I want to make money from there. What do I first do? I try and go online, advertise for people that know how to script, people that know how to write codes, advertise in Nigeria, get young guys, pay them 20, 25,000, telling them that they should write codes. I give them what kind of codes they're going to write. I get some designers, also solution architects to design. I won't tell them that they are writing malicious code. I'll just tell them that probably I'm working for a company, and as part of our red team, blue team setup, we need to be able to test some malware against our antivirus system within the company. And they start designing it. I get people to market it also on dark web. So I'm starting a ransomware as a service business, and I'm going to post it. I have my data analyst that analyzes which organizations that we can hack into. We have our data team. This team might be a team of 1 or 2 persons. It might be teams situated in other countries that you are just paying for their time to get you data. And you also have the finance team. When you push ransomware into an organization and they want to pay a ransom, you're going to tell them how they're going to pay it. Nowadays, they don't pay in cash. They pay in Bitcoin. You get people that have knowledge in that area to manage how you are going to collect your cryptocurrency. And that's your finance team. You have managers also managing different. I've just painted a big scenario. You don't have to have all these people, but you can just have 2 or 3 of these. And before you know it, it has become a business. So what happens next? After I've formed my team, we sell service, we sell codes, we develop codes, we sell them. From there, we collaborate more on the dark web. The moment that my ransomware is really working and I have testimonies about it, I share it on dark web, people will want to come and subscribe to my ransomware. I probably sell it to them and they use it elsewhere, my virus codes. And that's how it's working. It might be even phishing email with links to command and control center. And when people click on it, it downloads malicious codes on their system and use that to communicate to a command and control center. I used to work I was brought on board with Siemens after the Stuxnet saga in 2010. That was when some people planted some malicious code in the Iranian nuclear plant, and there was colossal damage to their nuclear power plant. And we could see from there that this is going on from organized crime is like state-sponsored crime also. Although there wasn't any actual, there wasn't anybody that took responsibility for the attack, but everybody suspected, in Siemens back then, suspected a nation that was behind that. And yeah, that's how ransomware came into limelight from 2011 up till today. It's still very, very active in the world. We still had an incident also in Australia recently where the second major telecom subscriber database was hacked, and yeah, data data leak of subscribers. There was a data leak of subscriber information on dark web, on different cyber criminal platform. So what's the history? I won't want to go through bore you with this history, but we have seen from a long time ago that there has been cyber criminals, from people being able to. I remember when I was small, whenever our daddy locked the phone, we used to tap the phone then. And that's a typical hacking. That's typical of hacking. We didn't know that it was. We will tap the phone, all those analog phones, and we'll use it to make call. Yeah, use it to make call. So from those telephone system, I watched a video that this guy made of blessed memory, Steve Jobs of Apple, and Steve Jobs has at 1960s or early 70s had broken into payphone and started making free calls. So hacking has been there for long. We have people dropping logic bombs, bank fraud, dropping logic bombs in codes, bank frauds, and most recently is the Colonial pipeline ransomware. That's the one that Mr. Keo didn't want to talk about. It's the public knowledge is on the internet, where Colonial Pipeline has 5,500 miles of pipeline running through southeast of US, from Texas down all the way to, I think, some parts of Canada. And they had a ransomware attack through phishing. They got the credentials of one of their privileged guys, some people that have privilege level access. And before you know it, their system was ransomware. And that affected fuel supply in US, in Southeast US for 7 days. Look at the impact on their life for 7 days. And they ended up paying $5 million in Bitcoin. Although they said they got the money back, we don't know how true that was. And this is the profile of the Colonial Pipeline hack, describing who Colonial Pipeline, what happened, what was the impact. In Nigeria, we always have fuel what's it called, scarcity.
Mr.
So it might not be new to us, but in somewhere like US, where you have people running to the filling station with jerry cans and things like that for like 7 days, it's a national problem.
I know that questions are going to come for you, so I'm going to save you for that, because you have touched a number of things, and I know some people are just like, but what of, and those questions are going to come. So I would ask you to take a breather here. Let's ask our next speaker, Mr. Arabai, to come up and give us his own angle, and then later we'll bring up the three of you together to start shielding the questions. And then I'm sure you'll still be able to touch on one or 2 points that you are yet to. Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much. All right. In the chats, start saying thank you to Mr. Segun Adeyemo. He's just, this kind of thing we say in university, he's just talking stuffs. He's just moving stuffs and telling us things that, like the back end to some of the things we just hear, like, oh, what's that? And we have questions coming for you. So thank you so much. Mr. Arabai, we're bringing you up now to take us through the conversation around the ignorancy currency. I think that it has that pitch has begun. People are preying on our foolishness, stupidity, and lack of knowledge. So please tell us more about that currency called ignorance.
Okay, thank you very much, Joy. Please confirm that you can hear me very clearly.
Loud and clear, and we see you too very clearly.
Wonderful. Okay, first of all, thank you to my senior colleagues, to Mark, to Shola, Segun. I think they've all touched on a very high level on some of the things I'm going to be talking about. From an ignorant perspective, many things we do not know about are happening. I think you, Joyce, you started that to spend 50% of our time in the cyberspace, whether we know it, whether knowingly or unknowingly. But that's the real fact. But we are not the only players in cyberspace. I think Mark had mentioned that there are many other players in cyberspace that are there to take advantage of us or of our ignorance if we decide not to be aware of their activities in that space. So we need, like you have also identified and mentioned, we need to educate ourselves. We need to become more aware because inevitably we're in that space. So we need to become more conscious. I'll try not to be technical at all. I think I want to speak directly to people because just like Shegun has mentioned, all these activities are touching lives. It's not just from a corporate perspective, but also from an individual perspective. Right now, the cyber criminals or short name hackers they are ever thinking. They are ever looking for how to better themselves and become more sophisticated. Right now, what security experts have they've been tracking the different generations of attacks, and the classification right now is that we're in the fifth generation of cyber attacks. I'm sure many of us might not know what supply chain attacks might be, but what we've seen is that in the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen almost a 400% increase in supply chain attacks. And simply put is some companies have become very aware of how to protect themselves. So the cyber criminals are saying that it's hard to get into those companies. So what they do is they look at their suppliers that are less protected, and from those suppliers they're able to get access into the main company. So what are these guys doing? They are smarter. They know how to get to the individuals, which another subject raised by Mark was spear phishing, where they are using, they're using the mindset or the human factor to attack individuals and to that emotional side of people. Even like Sheku said, there's a Nigerian prince that has this much money sitting somewhere, and the person is excited and says, and he clicks some things or puts information or exposes information he's not supposed to expose. All of these things are, what makes us vulnerable. But all these things speak to what we will talk about as the human factor. Okay, companies have understood how to defend themselves, but there's that chain, that weakness in the chain, and that's the human factor. So many things happen. There are some behaviors that we have looked at from an hygiene perspective that could, are some of the things that affect how or make us more vulnerable. Some of the things are, using company devices for personal uses. That is exposing the company to some of the attacks. Now, I don't know, a common term, I don't know how popular this is to other people, is BYOD, meaning bring your own devices. In the past, you're going to work in an organization, you have a computer, a desktop, and what you can work with. Now you just have your own personal laptop, and you bring it, you use it, you have your personal phone, and you're able to get into company resources that help your benefits. It benefits the work you're trying to achieve. All of these are factors of COVID that have made many of us work from home. It's a global phenomenon. Other things are people not changing their passwords. You leave your passwords unchanged 1 year, 2 year, same password. All these things are some of the things that make us vulnerable. Even from a company perspective, you have your cybersecurity policy. We understand that we're in the fifth generation of cyber attacks, and then the company hasn't changed its security policies to adapt to realities. All of this make us vulnerable. These are some of the things that we do to expose ourselves, not just ourselves, but our companies, and we call it ignorance, but it has a dire effect. So what must we do? So there's a school of thought that says if we want to improve our cyber status, our cyber score, we need to work as much on human beings as on the technology because of that weak link. And there's a principle that is going around now, and that is what we have seen. And I work for Microsoft. From a Microsoft perspective, that is what we propagate. That is what we talk about, and it's called zero trust. And it simply means assuming, instead of assuming everything, assume everything behind the firewall is unsafe. So assume anything coming in and you do not know the source, assume it is unsafe. So each time assume that you have been breached. We've just heard from from different speakers that they might have breached you months ago and you are not aware. So assume the attackers have succeeded. So when you see something fresh, try and block it. Always verify. Validate who the users are. Validate who is getting access to your information. If you get a phone call from somebody supposedly from your bank and you are not aware of the person, tell the person to get back and call your account officer and say, okay, look, I got a call from the bank. Is it true what you're asking me? All these things are what we call zero trust approach to cybersecurity, and it's a simple thing that the average person on the street can attend to. It's not just from a corporate perspective, but also from an individual perspective. Looking at the human factor being the weakest link in the chain of cybersecurity, from looking at it from the expert's perspective. There are two ways. If we're looking at it from a corporate perspective, there's the insider threat. So there's the aggrieved staff. There's those that internally set up or expose the company because they are angry or because of personal benefits they want to get. Then there's also the negligence part, where you make a mistake and then you expose the company because you are not aware of some things, like what Mark has said. When in the spear phishing, you go ahead, they send you an email in your company, or you clicked it. I think that was Shegun that mentioned it, and then it goes ahead to attack the entire system. And this is the ignorance we're talking about. What will a company do, or what do you as an individual have to do? So there's a simple acronym I use. I call it ART. And it's simply awareness, responsibility, and training. What do I mean by awareness? You should be able to identify and spot threats that are coming at you, either from your phone, either from your email, from your WhatsApp chats, and they are trying to get information from you. You need to be aware at any time that, look, these are issues, or this could be an attack. And the responsibility, many organizations or many individuals, particularly in companies, look at cyber security as the responsibility of the IT department. No, the responsibility is on you, because, like we've been saying on this call, it's the attitude you take on in the office is the same you take on with your own personal information and you give out. So you need to become responsible for your data and protect it, because you do not want your information to be exposed to those that you are not attending to. Then training is very important. Interestingly, there's training out there if you are interested in knowing. Microsoft as a company is very invested in training companies. We support our customers in training their employees, and we even have platforms where you can go and get certification. There's Udemy and other platforms where you can get certifications even for free, if you are interested in becoming knowledgeable and educating yourself. But definitely we need to correct this trend and ensure that we are protected and we protect our data assets. Our data assets, my name is unique to me, and if I expose it unnecessarily, it could go to places where they take advantage of that information. I already talked about passwords. Easy ways of correcting these trends for individuals and ourselves is, change your password, make it more complex, not 123 as some of my panelists have spoken. You put 123 as your password, then it makes it easy for the hacker to take advantage of that situation. Or simple things like sharing passwords, exposing you are in your home, you have your internet, and then you share your password of your internet to your neighbor shares it to somebody else, and then you've exposed it, and then someone hacks into your system and seeing all the information to your bank and all the personal things that they should not see. Become aware, educate yourself. There are free sources out there to ensure that you have the right information on how to protect yourself. So all of these are some of the very important things. From a company perspective, that's from individual. From a company perspective, it is important that the cybersecurity is from top down. It's a cultural thing. The organization must ensure that it is ingrained within its staff. Simply because in the situation of a hack or when a company has been breached, what happens is loss of money, loss of reputation, and it could be the end of that company in some instances. So, what does the organization leadership do? They need to understand if their staff even know what cybersecurity is. So basically, they need to test their knowledge of cybersecurity. And then they need, once they've tested their knowledge and they've gotten this feedback, they need to share that feedback to the staff to say, okay, look, from what we see, out of 10, I think all of you are scoring 2. So therefore, you need cybersecurity training. So you need to now make out time for training and enforce that training to the staff and ensure that they take that knowledge and they bridge that knowledge gap. Then finally, you measure the progress of this training. You ensure that the staff is actually taking in all this information and using it on their work. So basically, that's it. We need to ensure that we become aware. There's no currency in ignorance, and we need to ensure that we're aware of all the activities of the hackers around us to protect ourselves and protect our data. Thank you very much, Joyce.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The questions are already coming, and I will
Okay.
call up the panelists to all come and begin to tackle these questions together very shortly. Just to remind us that this program is brought to us by Steelcon Technologies Limited, and the CEO of Steelcon was up earlier to share his thoughts, welcome us, give us opening remarks. Now, if you would check the George Ikoli-Spiff page, I believe that's it, the George Ikoli-Spiff page, you would see more information going forward. Some of the questions were already asked, and even steelcontechnologies.com, you would see some of the links. We'll begin to put up some of those links to where is the training happening, what solutions should you be looking at as a small business, as an individual, some of the things that our speakers have spoken on today. Steelcon Technology is all about providing solutions, but more importantly, making sure that we all together are aware that we are the chief security officers of our lives. Our panelists are back here with us, Mr. Olushola, Mr. Adeyemo, and of course, Mr. Odokai. Thank you. There was a question here that I will just take up, and I'll throw it to 3 of you to respond in different ways, and then you can take us around. And if to all our listeners, viewers, if you already asked a question long ago and we have missed it, it's gone up somewhere in the chat, please copy it and paste it again. I'll be happy to share. Mr. Sam Talk says, how can we use ethical hackers to support cyber attacks? So please, whoever is going to respond first, please just show us, tell us what ethical hacking is, first of all, so that we know, and then how can we use that to support? I'm assuming that this person is already someone who can help himself. So please, over to you.
So do you mind if I go? Or done? I think it's better you
Yes,
pick,
please,
you
Mr.
pick, you pick who you want to talk, who you want to respond.
Oh, okay, I
Joyce,
should bring
I
more
think it's better.
questions and then we pick the
No,
ones
no,
we
I
want
mean,
to deal with.
just identify. Just say maybe myself or Shola or Mr. Ejokai. Yeah.
Okay, since you're the one speaking right now, Shagun, go
Yeah, no,
ahead.
let me just take this one. So there are ethical hackers and there are non-ethical hackers. The non-ethical hackers are those that don't have a rule of engagement. That is, those that just they don't need any permission for them to intrude into your world. The ethical ones are those that have a contract, a rule of engagement. So those ones are like the ones that come from your auditors. That's try our system. We are going to give you the set of IP addresses. Try and see if you can reach them. So this person is asking how you can use ethical hackers to support cyber attack. The only area you can use ethical hackers that I always suggest is for them to be able to identify what your vulnerabilities are. Because in the real sense of it, the ethical hacker have tools, yes, they have information, but they are not trained to be non-ethical. So if you want to simulate a cyber attack against your company, a proper one, I always tell people to go outside, get these guys that are out there and do a black box testing. There's a white box testing, there's a black box. White box testing is I give you my IP address, I give you my architecture. Yeah, go ahead and hack my system. The black box is, oh, I represent A, B, and C bank, but have this money. Can you just try and see if you can reach that bank? And I will not inform anybody in that bank or in my organization that I'm doing this. Yeah, it may lead to prosecution, but that's the best way for you to test if your controls are really working.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much. This next question here I would direct to Mr. Lushola. Recently, a news went viral where Zenith Bank operatives stole the data of a customer and withdrew over 450,000 from her accounts. So how do we then safeguard our information from those in the safe?
This is an interesting question, and it's also within my field. At least I've worked in bank for over 20 years, and I could say a lot about banking industry. So there are rules of engagement, and that's why you have the rules of confidentiality. You sign the oath of confidentiality when you are joining a bank. But beyond that, you can only predict when you do your background check that the person is fit. But thereafter, there could be a change in behavior. So that is also part of what you try to do in terms of constituent awareness and monitoring and controls in the bank. But you can't rule out human elements in people. So it's to also ensure that the data was leaked from the bank. That needs to be ascertained in terms of investigation. And then you need to also prove beyond reasonable doubt. So that's why you have internal audits within banks also to also carry out that assignments to be sure. And also we have data privacy now, which has helped situation beyond before. Before, Nigeria does not have that data privacy in terms of NDPR. So they are also monitoring what are the activities you use the data of a data subject. So there's a process now. There's also Bureau of Investigation established by the Nigerian government to also investigate breaches of data. So if your data is leaked and they get to know of that complaint, they will invite the organization involved and also set up their own investigation to look into that case. So country has moved from what it used to be to a more process environment. So you can't rule out human element. It's either air or there. Also, you see a situation whereby they also push to customer. Maybe you unknowingly divulge your information. Maybe somebody call you through phishing or smishing and you divulge your information without knowing. But beyond that, also we need to also look what are the internal process and controls put in place by bank, and that you have CBN also regulating banks in terms of circulars, frameworks coming out. Once they are also getting complaints, we also have consumer protection in department in CBN, also analyzing those complaints, doing a trend analysis, also looking at the fraud figures, and also breaking out and enforcing other laws and regulations on banks. So thus, how do we safeguard our information in the bank? CBN is doing a lot in that regard, in terms of ensuring that they comply with all those frameworks that have been set up. We have cybersecurity framework. We also have the BVN framework also outside. These are the regulations that CBN has come about to ensure that we secure those information. And we have the Nigerian Data Privacy Regulation, NDPR also. That's also guiding us in terms of how do you share data of individuals that you've collected. So the country has evolved and things are improving. But beyond that, you can only alleviate fraud. You might not be able to eradicate it. So we continue to improve to get better.
Thank you. We continue to improve to get better. So, in other words, we just hope that those who try the nonsense are caught and punished, because we have to keep things in the safe. We can't but put our monies in the bank. All right. Thank you. This question, I've seen a few other questions. If I've skipped your question, please forgive me. I'm trying to pick the questions that I believe are not overlapping. Some of them seem to overlap. Question here. Let me ask Mr. Odokai to please deal with this if you can. What is the power of blockchain and cloud? This is from a techie. Wow. Some of us are like, what does he say? Blockchain. What is blockchain? What is the power of blockchain and cloud for cybersecurity to our nation and continent? So maybe you start by saying, giving us what's the way that book called? The definition of blockchain for dummies, and then you'd answer the rest of the question.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm not a techie. I'm an accountant, but I'll give it a try, and I also leave my other panelists the opportunity to give their feedback on it. Like blockchain is a recent technology that came up maybe in the last, or more prominent within the last 5 years or so, and is the use of what we call accounts. I'll get the terminology, but it's designed. Thank you, ledgers. Thank you, Mr. Shegun. Distributed ledgers are designed to be secure, meaning it's in an environment where others outside the environment cannot change any of the data within that ledger. It's only those that have access to it. And it's the blockchain technology, though different from what we now call cryptocurrency and all of that, but it is the fundamental idea is almost the same thing, and that's why, in terms from a security perspective, it is termed to be more secure. Though that's open to various questions. So, but what are they doing with it? And the cloud, we all know what cloud technology is basically the ability to move some of those services from the on-prem devices to services that you can get easily in the cloud. Many offerings are available, and we store data there. But what's happened is with cloud technology, we're seeing a different direction of attacks. Okay, in terms of what we call the threat landscape, the attacks are moving from some of. Okay, I'm trying not to be using technological language. Not so the threat landscape has moved from on-prem to the cloud. So the way the hackers have a bit more leeway to get access, but also the cloud has its design or means to be protected. So we've moved firewalls from on-premise, we've moved them to the cloud so that you are protected. And then the cloud also gives the ability to back up faster, meaning you have different copies of the same information so that if you lose one, you have access to the other. Okay. So it's not just for the continent, but it has real impact for the entire world. And this is the direction of where technology is moving towards in terms of cloud technology, because it enables all of us to be more agile, to work faster, and to have more data. For instance, many of us back up our information on our phones to the cloud. Whereas in the past, you'd not be able to use that phone any longer because the memory in that phone is finished. But because most of the information you now have is now in the cloud, you're able to continue using that phone and continue to have access. So it has real life impact in terms of blockchain and in terms of cloud. The blockchain technology is relatively new in terms from a corporate perspective, but we're now seeing companies have different use cases for blockchain to ensure that they are able to secure that environment a bit more and to ensure that they are more efficient in that space. So from a high level, that would be my contribution for that.
Thank you very much. We'll take just two more questions because of time, please. Only because of time. For those who still have more questions, please hold the questions for now. But you can very easily send the questions to you can drop them here and we will capture them and make sure that over the next few days we share the answers on our social media platforms, which we'll share with you at the end of the program. Question number one that we will take before we go, and I would ask Segun to please field this one, if you will. Is the decentralized web something we should embrace? What are the cybersecurity threats we would watch out for in the decentralized web? The same person had a first question that said, with the decentralization of the web coming into play now, what's the way forward for a world that still faces serious cyber attacks Okay, I think he corrected the question. Should we embrace it? First of all, what is a decentralized web? For someone like me who is hearing this phrase for the first time, and I mean it, what's that? And should we embrace it? Segun?
Yeah, so like we all know, the web is centralized, is the World Wide Web. That's the WWW. That's a central one. Now, if you are going to a decentralized one, for instance, we are moving to Africa having their own, Europe having their own web. It becomes challenging. Number one, in terms of management. Number two, in terms of monitoring of threats. Number three, while it has a lot of its own benefits, I think the management overhead also it's going to be a lot of problem. While you are able to localize the threat to each region, you will not be able to manage it when it's decentralized. And part of the reason why people are pushing for a decentralized web is so that they will have control and they will be able to localize management. But on the overall, it's duplication of resources. And yeah, I'm not a, if you have created web as something central, why do you want to have, the only reason why you want to have a decentralized web is probably because of language barriers and other factors. Yeah, but not because we just want to go, let's just go decentralization and let everybody have their own. It's just similar to when you have a bank. Okay, let me use the bank because we have been using, when you have a bank that is situated in different countries, like EcoBank. EcoBank now have their own websites for EcoBank Ghana. They have their websites for EcoBank. The management overhead is cumbersome. Whereas you can have only EcoBank and have people manage subsets of, or maybe transactions per country, or just a link to other countries. Yeah, so that's just a typical analogy of what it is. And what are the threats? The threats to it are just the same threats to our central www web. It's still the same thing. As long as you don't protect it, yes, you're gonna have problems.
All right, thank you. So embrace it with caution, or don't embrace at all, so that we don't have multiplicity of challenges. We just want to go to one market and not different markets for different things, right? Thank you. This question seems like the answer is a no-brainer, but I think we need to be so clear that we are not misunderstood. because almost everyone here is a smartphone user. I said, which is best for smartphone users? Enabling a remember me option when entering passwords for the first time, because you don't want to forget that complicated password that you just put together instead of using your normal 123. Or I should actually put in my password every single time. I would just send this question to you, Mr. Odokai, because you attacked us with saying, anyway, let's leave you to answer the question.
Okay. So what's the answer to this? I'll tell you what I do. I never use Remember Me.
Okay.
I never use it. Others, have their choices. And why don't I use it? Because my own feeling is if the phone gets out of my hands, then you have access to everything on the
Who
phone.
is being remembered?
So that is my view. So I play around with my passwords. I'm very ingenious with it, and I try to make sure it's something I remember. With the combination of and these days when you're using passwords, you are guided. Use this cap, some you have this number of caps, have a number in it, have a symbol in it,
Special character.
a combination of characters to help you. But as much as possible, I limit the information I put on any device.
All right. Thank you. I have been so guilty of remembering me, but like you
And
just
guess
said,
as
for the
much.
first time, I'm thinking about it. Who did I want
So,
them to remember? Me or anybody who has the device?
so
So,
Joyce,
Olusola, you were saying? Yes.
if you should do a survey, just do a general survey. You see that it's 80%, 80-20. 80% will use Remember Me.
Remember.
That's the human nature for you. And that's where they call human being as the weakest link. So how do we
Oh,
change?
I'm not a weak link. Somebody saying I'm not a weak link.
So how do we change?
You're
How
not
do
in the
we
church.
how do we change this mindset? Is for them to know that okay, there are ways to recover your password. Because you need to give them that comfort, and that's where they can say, okay, fine, I won't bother to say remember me. So there are always options when you are creating password, secret questions, send to my second email address, click forgot my password. So once they have the understanding of those options, they won't use it again. So it's just about awareness and what can you get back.
So, anyone in the chat, are you the weakest link or you are no longer the weakest link based on what you've just heard? I'll ask this last
Sorry,
question.
Joyce.
Yes,
Sorry, Joyce.
please.
Before you go
Yes,
to your
please.
question, I'm
Yes.
an advocate of people not using password, but using passphrases. Passphrases.
Oh,
Passphrases
about that.
are longer. They are longer and they are very, very difficult to hack. I have a website. I think I'll share it. You can put in your password. It will tell you the number of hours it will take to crack that password.
Say the website. Say the website. I'm writing to the chat right now. Say.
No,
No,
I'll try.
people can use it for wrong intent. So you need
No.
to be
It
extra.
will just know. It's just for you to be. It's not for you to be able to know how strong your password is. So instead of using password, you can use. My mom was born in passphrase. It's just word sentences. My mom was born in Aqua Ibom, and that A you can change it to art. Nobody is gonna no dictionary. You can't get that in.
I've never heard this before in my life. A passphrase.
So let me just add.
Yes.
It's interesting. I thought I was the only one that did this. My password is a combination of words always, and I always interchange the words because there is in the black web, like Mr. Shegun had said, there is already a data of all possible passwords, dictionary words. So when they are sampling, all they do is just throw that password in, and it comes out because they are generic passwords that people use all the time. So the combination of words actually, help to strengthen the password.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ajewole and others are asking for that website. If you can, we'll drop it in the chat and people will be happy to go and test their passwords. But I think the major takeaway now is let's move to passphrases. For those of us who are hearing it for the first time, that's the reason why CAMCon was put together. So we can hear things we probably have not heard before. I am changing to, in fact, I've already started thinking of some passphrases that you can't get. I'm just gingered. And we can use this for everything because our lives are all on cyberspace. The last question, I'm asking this because most of us here are parents. And I'll just ask this from a curious person who is saying, since there are trainings that teach all these, will you advise us to allow our kids study cybersecurity as a course in university, or they should just go study computer science or something and then do specialized courses here and there? I would take only 1 minute, very, very, very few second responses, because some parents are wondering, this is my child that says he wants to study cybersecurity. Is it a waste of time or waste of money? Mr. Olushola, your eyes have moved back and forth, so I'll allow you start the response.
So to me, it's a yes. Allow them. It's all about being innovative and creative. We are not talking about cyber attack, cyber security. They want to secure the cyber. So give them the opportunity and let them also look at what is trending. That's the future of the world. Everything's moving to digital platform. So the more we have those innovation around cybersecurity, the best for the world. So
all right,
give the freedom for them to decide.
Do the other two panelists agree? If you do, say aye. If you don't, say nay.
I hear.
Yeah.
Oh, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much. Thank you to our participants. Please say in the chat, people have begun to, the mechanic is already saying thank you. They've begun to say thank you for your kind contribution towards the conversation today. You've made CAMCon worth it. I'm not giving the vote of thanks, but I'm thanking you on behalf of everyone in the chat who has learned something. Mr. Erogbayo Dokai, thank you so much. Mr. Deshe Guadeyemo, thank you so much. Mr. Olushola Odediran, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you can copy their names and I'm sure you will find them on social media. Follow them if... Now, do we even know if they're on social media? Who knows now? And he put the chat in here. Let me copy this and put it in the general comments. That's the website that many of us have been asking for to test your password strength. Guess what? Hey, it's in the chat right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Our next speaker has been here he has been here from the very beginning. He's bringing us goodwill. But I always say that goodwill is a function of something. The person who can give goodwill to someone else is the person who has good himself, right? Or herself. He is himself a security engineer, a cybersecurity consultant and professional in Obodo Ibo. He's a malware analysis expert, security trends enthusiast with experience working across various African countries, including Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Cameroon, Morocco. He is certified in information system security. And today he's sharing his kind presence with us, bringing us goodwill at CAMCon 2022. Welcome, Mr. Kome Aguaye. So good to have you here with us. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Joyce. First of all, I want to confirm, can you hear me or can you see me clearly?
Loudly. We hear you, we see you.
Okay, great.
And we see the Canada weather around you.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that real soon. So, yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank all the panelists and also the keynote speaker, Mr. Mark Akiode, the Chief Information Security Officer for EcoBank Africa. So, and also the panelists, most of them have been able to work with them, and they are really powerhouses in the cybersecurity industry, not just in Nigeria, but in the world. And it's also a pleasure to be part of this panel. Big thank you to Mr. Ikoli-Spiff for organizing this event, and also for especially during the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and for everybody that has joined. Mr. Mark, during his speech, he spoke about identity. He spoke about so many keywords. He used so many keywords during his speech, and one of the things that he mentioned was identity. And we all know that we are in the information age, and everybody has an identity. And that's one of the games I try to play with Mr. Ikoli-Spiff right now, because During the organization for this event, he asked me to send my profile to him, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to give you my name. Although we've worked together for a while, but I said I was going to give you my name, and I want to see how much you can gather of me from what is on the web, from my name and everything. And I didn't give him anything. I just gave him my name and everything, and I'll just waited to see what Joyce was going to say about me. So everything he said about, okay, my certification, what I do, what I like, and also where I am, it's things that probably he got from the web, not what I told him and all. So that's one of the things we need to understand. Everyone needs to understand, especially in this information age, is that we are every individual is an identity. So on Google, on Apple, we all have a folder, and our identity is linked to everything we do, everything we browse, everything we like, and not just our identity, also identity of people around us and all the things we interact. So the real question is that how secure is our identity, or do you think your identity is secured? And to me, that's a rhetorical question. We need to answer that personally, and that's what most of our earlier speakers also spoke about always training ourselves, always being aware, always taking security, that we are the chief information security officers of our lives. And also, the real question is our open identity secured? Or what everything we put on the web, whether it's on our social media platforms, or what our friends put of us on the web also, is it secured? Or how can they use those information to hack our life? So all the panelists, everyone that has spoken for me spoke really well. Like, there are a lot of words, and I would just like to mention like some of the words they actually said during their presentation. I talked about identity. They also mentioned things like about cyber hygiene, zero trust, phishing, because cyber resilience. And I'd like to say one or two things about phishing. One thing one of the panelists mentioned, which is a usually common phrase I tell all my clients, is that there are two kinds of organizations, or there are two kinds of individuals in this world. One organization is one that have been attacked. The other one is the one that is about to be attacked. So it's not about the matter of if you're going to be attacked. It's the matter of when you're going to be attacked. So everybody, you treat that, whether you're an individual, an organization, or a state, the truth is you are going to be attacked. So when it happens, what are you going to do? That is one of the major focuses that we need to, as individuals, or also as champions in our organizations, we need to take into consideration and all. They mentioned about cyber resilience, and I would just like to say one thing about cyber resilience, because that is what we cybersecurity enthusiasts are always preaching to organizations, is that we all need to build a more cyber resilient environment for our personal life and also for our organization, and we need to be more proactive in how we deal with cybersecurity matters and all. So with cyber resilience, the three phases I always tell people is that, one, you have to be, that's three phases, I term them PWRO. One is your organization able to prevent against attacks. Two is your organization able to withstand against attacks. Then also, three is your organization able to recover against attacks. I know I just have like 30 more seconds more, but I'll just speak briefly about the PWRO. So with the prevent, you can't totally prevent against attack. So it's not really about prevention, but it's just about dragging the attackers or stalling the attackers from gaining further access into your environment. So if you have a building and you have a plastic door, it will take them 1 minute for an attacker to break, or a thief to break the door. But if you have steel door bars, if you have various levels of doors, various levels of authentication processes within your house, it will take a thief a longer time to be able to gain access to your house. So that's the aspect of prevention. So prevention doesn't necessarily stop the attack, but it also prevents. It just drags the attacker from entering the environment and gives you enough time to actually raise the alarm, or actually build more, or maybe escape, or build a secondary way of reducing your loss. The second thing was the withstand. That's the W side. So withstand is being able to continue your business even when you're being attacked. So we know things about DDoS, like denial of service attacks. Even when the major attack that's happening in West Africa is not even a technological attack, it's actually a personnel attack. So we have a lot of people leaving the African continent. We have a lot of skills leaving the African continent, and we having a shortage of skills. So is your environment able to withstand those levels of those levels of attack? It could be personnel, it could be a DDoS attack, or it can come in any form. The lastly is the recover. That's the R. So to recover, you need to be able to have adequate backup, secured backup. We all know the history about ransomware. We all know the details about how it has been able to affect a lot of businesses, a lot of states, a lot of organizations, even individuals and all. So when you've been attacked, can you recover to a working state and all? So those are the PW arrows. I know I'm out of time, but I really appreciate it. And thank you, Just for organizing this event.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Everyone in the chat, please say thank you to Mr. Kome Agwai. Prevent, withstand, recover. He has given us something else to think on. Am I preventing? Can I withstand? And how will I recover if he said when I am attacked. Thank you, Mr. Komagwai. Thank you. Yeah. And in the chats, please say thank you. Thank you. For PWR, we will never see those letters the same way anymore. Thank you. Thank you. From all of us at CAMCon 2022. Thank you. Distinguished guests, we're almost completely out of time. The last several minutes that we have will be spent in a fireside chat with our next speaker, who, at the very beginning, we said we'll talk about the technicalities and then we'll talk about the life of it. But just before I speak on him, just remind us that this program is brought to us by SteelCon Technologies Limited, and you will find us at steelcontechnologies.com, and you can find more information. SteelCon is all about cybersecurity solutions, cloud solutions, and we serve several industries across government, oil and gas, legal, and more. Our next speaker who will be having a fireside chat with, well, since I have no fire right here, I would have a bottle of waterside chat with him. He's a global citizen. We can never tell where he would be on any given day because he's just all over the place, living life and enjoying it. And we invited him to talk about the lifestyle beyond the technology. What is the lifestyle? What is the mindset? What is the behavior? What is the character of security that you have in your life that you extend to your cyberspace? For those of us who don't know who I'm speaking of, his name is John Obidi. He is an entrepreneur, consultant, speaker, author, founder, and he's the head henchman at Head Start Africa, which is a over 140,000 member strong community of experts and thought leaders who are changing the narrative across Africa and beyond. In about 180 million people, John Obidi was listed as one of the most influential young Nigerians in personal development and academia in 2017 and 2018 by Advanced Media. He's a social media strategist, amongst many other things. I don't like to say what he is because I don't even know what he is. But today, we're chatting with John about the lifestyle, the habits, the mindset for security in our cyberspace. Daddy J.O., good to see you.
Thank you. Good evening, JD. Good to see you here.
Today?
I'm in Kigali, Rwanda.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, John, there are many questions to ask. But before I do, let me just say to our last speaker that I'm seeing a lot of chats here saying thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Guai. Thank you, Mr. Guai. So to John, I want to ask you a question, but at the same time, I don't want to ask you a question. You already know what is burning in our hearts. I would ask you to just pour it all out. Pour the fire. See the fire signs in the chat already. Like
Okay.
fire us.
All right.
All right. Over
Thank
to
you.
you, John.
Thank
And
you.
then I would send one or two other questions. I will come.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joyce. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My profound gratitude to the conveners of this event, Mr. George, for inviting me here to share my thoughts on cybersecurity. So I was told that I wasn't going to be here talking about the technical aspects of cybersecurity. I believe that much more qualified experts have done justice to the topic. What I will be talking about will be the psychological aspects of cybersecurity. It will be the emotional aspects of cybersecurity and what other aspects of cyber needs to be secured. That's an interesting way to put it. What other aspects of cyber? Now, if you study the human mind, you'll realize that the modern computer is an exact replica of how the human mind works. As a matter of fact, when new technology like artificial intelligence is being innovated on, the model being used is the human mind. You know, I say sometimes that when religious books like the Bible say that God made man in his image and likeness, in the same way, man is also making robots and AI models in man's image and likeness. As a matter of fact, you will see that some of the artificial intelligence models have been found capable of being racist. Yes, you can look that up, right? So these things were made in with the human mind as a model. They are replicas of how the human mind works. And so we realize that our minds work like computers, right? If you study computer science, you know that the first things we learned was garbage in, garbage out. Our minds work just like computers, or maybe it's the other way around. Computers work just like our minds. And so in the same way that we try to secure our physical devices, our phones, our laptops, our emails, and all those things, what about the cyber security of your mind? Can you tell when there is an attempt to hijack your mind? And you might think that, John, what do you mean, right? If someone tries to hack a computer, at least we know they're trying to steal documents or commit cyber fraud, steal money, move money through accounts, or they're trying to break through your firewall in order to commandeer your computer and maybe make it part of a botnet or use it for other nefarious practices. Or maybe they want to carry out identity theft. We understand that, John. So when someone tries to hack your mind, what exactly are they after? And I'll tell you what it is. And that's because your mind is very powerful. Your mind controls your body. Your mind controls your will, controls your views, your opinions, and your beliefs. If one person is able to hack one person's mind, maybe not much of a consequence. But what happens when that person or a group of persons is able to hack the minds of thousands of people at the same time, or millions of people at the same time? Now, I know you're thinking, John, this is like too far-fetched. I'll give you real-life examples of when this has actually happened in the modern world. Now, there are two documentaries that I would like you guys to go watch in your leisure as your homework. Two documentaries, they're still on Netflix. The first one is called The Social Dilemma, right? And The Social Dilemma talks about how social media is configured to make you suggestible and impressionable to the point of control. But I'm going to focus more on the second documentary, and that is called The Great Hack. The Great Hack. Now, The Great Hack is the one that really caught my attention because it was a study into how people's minds were hacked when world-changing decisions had to be made. For example, Brexit. For example, the elections in the United States and all around the world. So what happened in the Great Hack documentary was that some reporters, journalists went undercover to investigate this company called Cambridge Analytica. Now, Cambridge Analytica was a data company. It wasn't very clear what they did, but they were a big data company that were using data mined from social media and using that to predict future behavior of large groups of people. Now, they moved beyond prediction to being able to use social media to influence the behavior of large groups of people. So when the journalist was interviewing an employee at the time of Cambridge Analytica, she was, of course, undercover, and he was talking about how they did this. And he said, oh, that what they have is very powerful, that they were able to use this to influence elections in multiple countries. I mentioned some countries where this was used. And again, these are not my words. Watch the documentary, The Great Hack. It's all there, okay? So he mentioned a couple of countries where this had been used. And he mentioned Nigeria, he mentioned Kenya, he mentioned Ghana, and one other country, he mentioned Trinidad and Tobago. Now, he did not go into detail as to how it was used in Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya, but he went into detail as to how it was used in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, personally, I didn't know anything about that country up until I watched that documentary. I just knew that it was like one of these island nations, like, you know, maybe like Jamaica, where there were a lot of Black people. That's all I knew, but I knew nothing about the history or the politics or anything. So I love history, so I sat, you know, attentively to hear what they had to say. What did you guys do in this country, this small country called Trinidad and Tobago? Now, the guy kept on talking, and what he said was that this country was population-wise divided amongst the Indians and the Blacks, the Indians and the Blacks, and that was interesting. But the Blacks were in the majority population-wise, and the Indians were in the minority. And because of that, every election cycle most election cycles were typically won by the Black candidates because they had the numbers. In this particular election, they hired these consultants the Indians actually hired these consultants to help them win the election. So they came there to work for the Indian side, even though the Indians were in the minority. How were they about to work this magic? Well, here's what they did. So this company went into the country and analyzed the behavior of the youth, and they realized that the Black youth were more impressionable, were more excitable, and easy to influence. The Indian youth, not so much. They were more conservative. They tended more to listen to their parents and honor their parents and do whatever they were told by their parents. And so what they suggested was, hey, let us go into their midst and create a message, create a movement that they would think was their own movement. Let's get them to create a movement. And the movement was supposed to tell the youth to not vote. Now, it wasn't categorically to not vote. It was something they called do so. Do so, you know, in that context was supposed to mean some sort of a rebellious attitude towards the existing culture, which they were hoping that the youth would interpret in their minds as do not vote. So the Indians cited, what are you talking about? We are trying to get you to get people to vote for us. And here you are trying to campaign to tell people not to vote. What's your plan here? This does look like it's going to help us achieve our objectives. And they said, hey, chill. We've done the research. We know that the Blacks are easily impressionable. They are easy to influence. You know, they are the more rebellious group of people. What we're going to do is that we'll try to make all the youth get into this movement of not voting, both the Indian youth and the Black youth. They're all going to do this. The Indians would come out to do the hashtags, do the dances, the trendy TikTok or Instagram dances. They'll do everything. Blacks and Indians, they'll do everything. But on election day, the Indian kids would never dishonor their parents. They would never disobey their parents. The Indian kids would vote in the direction their parents told them to vote. While the Black kids, they would carry their revolutionary attitude to the very end, thereby reducing the number of Black votes. And they said, interesting. All right, let's see what happens. And that's exactly what happened. They ran the campaign, youth came out with hashtagging, doing protests. And so everybody agreed that, oh, no voting, no voting. We're not going to vote. Okay, cool. Election day came, the Blacks, they were in the majority, they didn't vote. The Indians voted. Guess who won? The Indians. And as that part of the narrative was closing out on the screen, the camera panned over to the new president of the country, the woman who won the election. As she was giving her acceptance speech, the final thing she said, "Oh, I just want to give glory to God. I'll just give God the glory." And I nodded like, yeah. And I know the particular God that you are giving glory to. But that's how that's how that worked out. Right. And hey guys, you know, you don't have to take my word for it. Just after this, go watch the documentary. It's still on Netflix. I don't know why they still left it on Netflix, because you know it indicts a lot of a good number of people, but it's out there. So that is how the minds of the whole nation were hijacked, or not the whole nation, but enough people to swing the decision a certain way. And so when we talk about people hacking your minds, it is a real thing. And so do you know how to stand guard at the door of your mind? Can you spot manipulation happening? You know, before now, manipulation had to be carried out like maybe using mass media that our parents were used to, like newspapers. You know, the printing press was like boom, the greatest invention up in their time, right? And then the television came, and that was mass media. But you see, the thing about television is that in one home there's just one television. Yeah, there's just one television. So let's say there's a family of maybe 6. Everyone has to sit around the television and watch the same thing. So there's no scale when it comes to that television. But when everything moved to the mobile phone, now you could reach a lot more people all at the same time with any message that you wanted. And so the number one skill of this new era, of this age, that everybody needs to learn, and which is not taught in school, which will never be popularized because it is not in the interest of the media for this body of knowledge to be popularized. It is called media literacy. Now you might wonder, right, come on, man, media literacy, the media should want us to be literate about the media. No, it is not in the best interest of media for you to be media literate, or for enough people in the population to be media literate. Because when you start to study media literacy, then you start to understand that not all media, not all news is news. Every media company has an agenda, has a direction. An agenda, I know it sounds negative, but it's non-binary. It's neither positive nor negative. It just depends on how they use it. However, everything that they put out there is going to be colored through the lenses of their agreed agenda. It's not about truth or about what is helpful. It's about what correlates or what aligns to what their agenda is. I'll give you examples. For example, now when I was a kid, I loved the Democratic Party. I loved everyone who was a Democrat, right, in America. I loved Bill Clinton. I loved Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, you know, everyone in the Democratic Party, Obama, Shell, maybe even Biden. But if you would ask me, why do you love the Democratic Party? I would never know. But I would tell you that, oh, it's because they are the good people. They are the ones that you know, they are the ones that are for free speech. They are the ones, you know, this is the better party. The Republican Party is the bad party. Those guys are, that's what I would probably have told you at the time on a surface level. But on a deeper level, why did I really like the Democratic Party? The honest reason was, at that level of my consciousness, I did not know. And so when I became old enough, when I came of age and I began to question these things, I realized why I loved the Democratic Party, why I loved the Democratic Party without question. I realized why. Someone said, because you're black. No, not because I'm black. I'll tell you why. I had to go back in my history, down memory lane. And I remember that when I was a child, as young as 5 or 6, the grown-ups used to watch news. That's the thing that separated the kids from the grown-ups, was that the kids watched cartoons, the grown-ups watched news, right? So when we're trying to act grown-up, right, the way we show that we're grown-up was that we'll go and sit down with the adults and watch the news that we were watching. And even though we could not understand what was going on, we had to pretend like we could understand, just so that we could be respected, you know, or so that they could see us as grown-up, though we're not. But I'm just telling you, those are the childish games we played, right? But then what was the news that I was watching? It was CNN. CNN was the only thing that I ever watched growing up. And in Nigeria, more people watch CNN than anything else, and than Fox or Sky. CNN is most popular. And so I grew up seeing CNN as objective news. I didn't know that media houses have agendas. I didn't know at the time, and you must know at this point, that CNN is basically the media wing of the Democratic Party, just as Fox News is the media wing of the Republican Party. And so it is CNN's job to amplify all the good things happening in the Democratic Party, amplify them, sometimes even exaggerate them, okay, and also to diminish any bad thing that they're doing, or even be silent about it. That's their job. They are also supposed to exaggerate and highlight all the negative things about the Republican Party and to diminish anything positive that they're doing. On the flip side, Fox News is the same way. Their job is to amplify and exaggerate all the great things or the positive things about the Republican Party and to diminish and minimize anything negative about them. And also, their job concerning the Democrats is to amplify the negatives of the Democratic Party and minimize their positives. And so imagine you're a child who grows up watching CNN. Who are you going to love? Who are you going to hate? Without the filter of this body of knowledge called media literacy. Of course you will love CNN. So you love a Bill Clinton. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a lovable person, but was that love or political affiliation, was it done from objective analysis, or was it planted there because you thought CNN was news, or because you thought CNN was objective news, or because you thought Fox News was objective news? The same way, if you grow up watching Fox News, you will love the Republican Party and hate the Democratic Party. That, but you can, once you have media literacy, you can watch anything and still maintain your objectivity. All right. Once you understand media literacy, once you have the knowledge that, oh, okay, I see your political slant, I get it. You can take what applies and leave the rest. The first step is in having that media literacy. Now, and this media literacy is not only regarding TV stations. We also have newspapers. We have print media. You've got the New York Times. You've got the Washington Post. Can you read an article and in the first 3 paragraphs deduce the political leanings of the writer and what could possibly be his agenda in that piece? That is media literacy. If you don't have media literacy, ladies and gentlemen, you have no business being on social media. You have no business watching television. That's a bit of an extreme statement, but I stand by it. If you haven't acquired media literacy, you have no business reading news. You have no business being on social media because you are a sitting duck. You are there just waiting to be possessed by whatever agenda they have. You have no Ministry of Defense for your mind. And I would suggest you do this with your children as well, for those of you who have children. All right. Before you expose your children to mainstream media, to any kind of media, take them through the school of media literacy. Just go to YouTube and Google and search for media literacy. You see people explaining what it is and how to learn, how to have that media literacy. It just helps you to be able to more objectively filter what it is that you're seeing, what you're reading, and what you are hearing. All right. Your mind can be hacked because your mind is very powerful. Because your mind was given to you free of charge, maybe you wouldn't value it as much. It may not be as valuable to you, but it is very valuable in the hands of the people that pull the strings. They want to be able to control your views, your opinions, and your beliefs so that they can control you in one particular direction. There might be a big vote to be had, maybe for any political leader. The next thing, they just call some consultants. How do we engineer social media, put things in front of them so that they will be influenced to go this way or the other? And because most people are not educated into these things, they almost always typically have their way. All right. So the first step here, guys, is media literacy. Media literacy. All right. Now, moving on from that, let me move on to mental health concerns. People say, oh, social media is free and all that, but there's a saying that if a thing is free, it means that you are the product. And you have to understand and accept that you are the product on social media, your views. All right. And the first documentary I mentioned would be very helpful for you when you're trying to understand what I'm saying. That's The Social Dilemma. And the social dilemma, that Netflix documentary went deeply into how they engineer these apps with the sole purpose of keeping your eyes on the screen. That's all. They don't care what your goals are. They don't care what your ambitions are. They don't care whether you've achieved your dreams. They don't care whether you got bills to pay. Their objective is to command the most important, the most valuable resource that you have, and that is your attention. And so there's this thing that they call the greatest invention in all of social media. You know what it is? It's called the infinite scroll. Do you guys remember a time when you could read something on social media, scroll and get to the end? When you get to the end, you leave that place. But they invented the infinite scroll so that you never run out of things to look at. You go to the explore section on Instagram, what is there is not just all there is to see. You can refresh and more will come. Refresh, more will come. You go to your newsfeed, you can keep on scrolling to infinity. The same thing on Twitter, the same thing on Facebook. Their goal is to keep your eyes there. Now, if you do not have certain measures in place to curtail how you stay addicted, how you get on these things, you're going to be in trouble. Why? These guys have PhDs, researchers that they are paying overtime to study the right color combinations, the right sound, for notification sounds, the right combination of imagery that are just engineered to keep you there. And so you have to know when to stop. All right. Some people have a thing they do. Some people have timers. There are apps that help keep people in check. There's also some people try to put their phone on black and white to reduce the effect of all those colors on the mind. All right. So you have to be very careful and you have to be self-disciplined in how you use social media. Something I wanted to say, and thankfully I didn't forget. And that I just wrote it down so that I remember. And that is about another app called TikTok. Now, what I'm going to say about TikTok may be subject to change because of because it's a version of it has been sold over to the US. But TikTok, for example, where does TikTok come from? TikTok is a Chinese app. It's from China, right? And I think for the first time ever, I think was it this year or last year, TikTok had the highest amount of global traffic for the first time ever in history, beating Google, YouTube, and all these other guys. Interesting. Now, all of social media is controlled by something called an algorithm. An algorithm is what controls what you see when. Now, when you look at the algorithm that controls what you see in the Chinese version of TikTok, because remember, China created TikTok. In the Chinese version of TikTok, what they reward with likes and comments and shares, right, are their youth being excellent in science and technology and martial arts and being intelligent. That's what the algorithm in China promotes. So that a kid that sees somebody else go viral for building a robot gets that peer pressure of like, I want to be famous too. Let me go build my robot. Let me go excel in math. Let me go, excel in sports. However, the algorithm that was being shown, that was engineered for the American audience and for the British audience and for other countries of the world, rewarded something different. It rewarded the dumbest possible behavior, like twerking, pranks, all kinds of dance. Go to YouTube, check it out. People have noticed this and made their commentary on it. So you look at the algorithm in other like third world countries that have zero control, zero education. People just don't know anything. So the algorithm in these other countries rewards the dumbest possible behavior because why? China knows that they need to lead the world. And when you want to arrest a country, what do? You control what they see. Anyone who controls what you see controls your beliefs, controls your views, controls your opinions. And so the US version was the algorithm was supporting. So if a girl comes there, does some crazy stuff, the algorithm sees that's some crazy stuff. Let's show it more in the news feed so that to get more views, more likes. And then when other young kids see, oh, this other girl got famous for twerking, I want to be famous too, then she'll go do that. And that becomes the dominant culture of those places. This is documented facts. Go look it up. In China, you act out, you do something, that they consider to be dumb socially. The algorithm does not, they might even ban your account. But if you don't do something that is worthy of banning, they will just keep you at the bottom. You have zero likes. Nobody will see. You'll be like, I have 1 million followers, but nobody saw this video. They know what they're doing. They know what they want the collective consciousness of their society to be. They know that they're in a race with the rest of the world. And in order to do this, they have to engineer their people in that direction. And so what happens in a country, maybe you live in a country where the leadership is not as proactive. Well, you have to be proactive yourself. You have to control what you see. I mean, China, something happened one time. I think there was a law in I think it was 3 years ago, and I shared this on my Instagram. China limited gaming time for every young person under, I think, is it 18 or 21? Because normally they say, oh, leave this to the parents, let parents raise their children. But now China does not even trust the parents anymore. So these parents, they don't know what they are doing. They're too free. How can you leave your child to be up playing games at this time? So China passed a law saying children under the age of, I think, 18 or one particular age like that, they're not allowed to play video games for more than 2 hours a day. I can't remember the number of hours, but it was interesting news. They stepped in, like, kids are not allowed. I know that it's not a democracy. You can't go and protest. It's not like, where you do it in a democratic country, and next thing now they are, protesting. No, so that is to tell you how they are thinking, what their intent is, and where they want to be in the next foreseeable future. But again, most of us here live in democratic countries where this is not going to become, general common consciousness. But as a parent, as an individual, as an adult, take charge of your mind, take charge of what the people under your care see, and make sure that you learn to be self-governed. So number one, media literacy. Number two, self-governance as regards social media. Now, on Instagram and on TikTok, there are ways of controlling what you see. When you come on there, you see dumb stuff first. You can just hit those 3 dots and say, not interested. You do that enough times, and those apps will stop showing you those things. Then you have to also go proactive. Go to pages that show things that you want to see, and just like. The algorithm would learn that this is what you want to be seeing. I had to do that myself to sanitize the whole feed, because hey, we cannot help it. We live on our mobile phones. It's the age that we are in right now, and our kids are also going to live in that world. I mean, we're here talking about social media when artificial intelligence has come. And AI was able to win an art competition just recently, right? Artists from all over the world came to compete, but the computer beat them. And people were shocked. Why are you shocked when an AI has been winning at chess for how many years? Do you think they will stop at chess, right? So we're getting to a place where computers would soon become smarter than human beings, and the people who control these algorithms are going to become the most powerful people on earth. I have a theory or a prediction to make that, a long time ago, the most powerful ruler in the world was Alexander the Great. Now, you might wonder, okay, Alexander the Great, which empire was he ruling? Was he a Roman? Was he a Greek? You would think about the greatest empires on earth. Was he British? I mean, it was way before the British. Where did he come from? But he actually came from a very small country, Macedonia. From that small country, his father, first of all, came Philip the Great, then he came Alexander the Great. From that small country, he was able to conquer the world. He conquered the Persian. The Persian Empire was the biggest empire then. All right, they were the world power. And then at some point, power changed hands multiple times. And then the UK became the world power, the British Empire. Guess what? Numerically, they were very small, tiny island country. But they conquered the world. Why? They discovered something before everybody else. right? There was that first mover advantage. What did they discover? They discovered the power of circumnavigation. And so they were able to buy a lot of ships and use all those ships to go and conquer the world before other people could realize the importance of having a navy, having a fleet of ships. People thought that ships were just for defending your territory at that time, but the British used these ships to go and conquer other territories. Okay, so power has changed hands, since then, and then now, the Americans are a world power. At some point, they shared that power with the Soviets, the USSR then before it broke up, and now we have Russia and the other countries that came out of it, right? But now, what is the marker of power? The marker of power now is what? Nuclear. So you can see that you have NATO on one side saying, oh, this country can't have nuclear. You can't have nuclear. It's too dangerous. So the strongest country is the one that has nuclear power. But the next superpower is not going to be nuclear. They are going to build their power on something that would make nuclear power sound like child's play. And everything that we are witnessing today in AI, and the metaverse and all these things on social media that we are witnessing today, they are all markers of what is going to come. Whatever is going to come is going to be something that can command the minds of people at scale. Now, whenever that happens, I don't know when that's going to happen, but everybody needs to learn to guard their mind. So at this point, I'm going to leave it off to Joyce to take it.
John, as usual, you've done that thing where we're thinking you might go in one direction and then you just throw us off in another direction.
Thank you.
Give us so much to think on. Now, John, I'm going to ask one last question. You've touched it, but I would ask if you can be even more specific, just so that no one is missing it. How do we begin to control our minds more?
Okay, that's cool. The first thing we need to learn is media literacy. It's something that has to be studied, right? And also opening our minds, because the average person, is ruled by their feelings, right? And you have to understand that people who made social media, they know you more than you know yourself. They know that you are very emotional. You know what? Let me tell you, Facebook, for example, Facebook knows you more than you know yourself. They know your friends. They know your family. They know your favorite kinds of music. They know your kinds of movies. They know, the names of your siblings, your children, your extended family, where you went to school, what you studied, your political leanings. They know you down to a T. There was a time when there was a kind of a rumor that was popular about 5 years ago, that Facebook even had an algorithm that could predict when two people in a relationship were going to break up.
And it's proved to be true.
Well, not proven. Facebook will never agree that yes,
but it was showing like it was,
because
true.
They track every single thing. Okay, this one is no more liking this one's post. This one is DMing another person. This one, the algorithm is not a human being that is.
Yes, it's
speaking.
AI.
It's an AI that is just going, pulling the data points, making its predictions, and they can predict when the lifespan of that relationship. Right? So we have to rise to a higher consciousness. It's nothing that we can use tech to do. It's something of the mind. You have to understand that somebody once made a joke to me. He said, a mobile phone is a monitoring device that also makes calls.
Monitoring device first. Then makes calls.
It's first a tracking device, right? So you have to understand the mindset of those that made these things. They made these things so that they could, of course, they would come with convenience, and Mark Zuckerberg would get on podcasts and say, oh, our vision is just to connect the world. I don't think so. You have to understand why this thing is actually a weapon. And it's okay, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps us. We wouldn't be doing this without tech. We wouldn't be doing this without social media, right? But we've got to understand that it's a double-edged sword. The other side of it, be sober, be vigilant. Just educate yourselves on these things so that from now on, when something comes up, you can tell the agenda behind this picture. Can you look at a picture? When people show you a picture, others would see one thing in the picture. Can you see something else and say, oh, I see why they arranged this way and that way? On my Facebook group, I did a poll there was a picture I saw from CNN where they were analyzing Nigeria's coming elections, and they put side by side the three three
candidates, or four of them.
four. They put up the four major candidates side by side on the screen. So there was Peter Obi, there was Atiku, there was Bola Tinubu, and there was Kwankwaso. So CNN put their pictures side by side while they were doing their analysis. So I took that screenshot and I posted it on my social media, and I asked my followers, and I said, first of all, this is only for those who have media literacy. If you don't know what media literacy is, please just do not comment. You don't know what I'm talking about here. But if you have an understanding of media literacy, by just looking at this picture, who do you think CNN favors or is presenting in a more favorable light, and why? What is your analysis behind it? And people began to analyze, and brilliant people actually. I was pleasantly surprised. They analyzed that this one, the lighting on his face, they didn't use a smiling picture of this one. This one was frowning in this picture. Why did they use the smiling pictures? Okay, this one was wearing this, the lighting, the angle, right? So people understand. Some people are educated enough to understand that, look, when a media house is trying to put somebody in a flattering light, in a positive light, there's a way they would color the appearance. When they want to put somebody out in a negative light, there's a way they would color their appearance. For example, now, someone like Kanye West. Kanye West has been a very incendiary personality in recent times. When they are trying to present him in a positive light, they'll probably use a picture of him smiling, him wearing white, and looking, but when they want to present him in a negative light so that it can push their news, they will show him looking frowning, with grown out beard, like a homeless person, so that he might look like he's out of his mind, right? This has to be something that everybody can just see, okay, yeah, so we're trying to do, cool, have fun, but I get it, and move on, right? So it all comes from re-education. I mean, I was ashamed that it was at the ripe old age of, I think, 25, that I knew that news was partisan. I didn't know all my life. So how am I better than the guys in Trinidad and Tobago that were used to, I never knew. I thought news was news, because I didn't think that any government of any country would allow any news agency put out stuff that wasn't true, that was colored a certain way. I assumed that maybe there will be one regulatory body that ensures everybody plays fair. And I realized that, no, it's not true. I was like, what? And that started my research into all of this, and I began to re-educate myself. So it doesn't mean that I support the Democrats or I support the Republicans, but when I see news, I am better able to interpret even what is not being said. And this is a whole body of knowledge that we need to learn and also pass on to our dependents, our children, and those within our spheres of influence.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave it right here, because I know we can take you on for another 3 to 4 hours, but we'll leave it here for today.
Thank you.
If you don't follow John already, just Google John Obidi and follow him everywhere. One of the reasons why we're very happy that John is all about, well, in my perspective, is all about the mind being your greatest tool, you being the author and finisher of your life, regardless of which of the gods you look up to. You have a lot of power if you would know how to use the power, if you understand the power. In the comments, please say thank you to John Obidi. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Here. If you can't protect your mind, you can't protect anything else. John, say hello to the Rwandans. Tell them their Nigerian friends and brothers send their love.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Distinguished guests, I can't believe that we have been at it for 2 hours, 33 minutes already. But guess what? We have. And it's been very engaging and insightful. My personal charge to us all is go and take action based on what you have now heard. We're seeing all the chats to John Obidi. He's already out of the room. John Obidi. Let me welcome back to the microphone the CEO of Steelcon Technologies, who put this together. George, you are the reason we are here, and the reason we've gotten to interact with all these wonderful
Wow.
people. We had our keynote speaker, we had our panelists. I'd like to say on behalf of everyone who has attended, CAMCon 2022 because I consider myself the first participant. Thank you for putting this together. I'll leave you to say the closing remarks now.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everyone, for hanging around this long. It's been mind-blowing. The information has been enlightening. And Daddy J.O. just crowned it up. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to all the speakers, Mr. Mike, Mr. Ayo, Mr. Shegun, Mr. Olushola, Mr. Comer, and Mr. John Obidi. And also to our beautiful moderator, Joyce Daniels. I'd just like to say thank you to every one of you for staying this long and for being a part of this. I know you would have taken something out of this conference. I'll just say thank you and God bless. Goodbye.